Well,
I don't know. Well, I had I had to say long hair.
I don't think I've ever seen you with long hair.
Yeah, because that was like middle school? No, high school. My freshman year. 06? Well, I only had it to like here.
You're 09, right?
I'm 10.
10?
I'm 10.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. John is
9.
John is 9, but he's supposed to be 08.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he's a year older. He is 9, but he's a year older than everyone in 09.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That I knew.
True. Because you guys grew up together. True?
Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey.
I look swaggy like you now.
I don't even think I look swaggy. I think I look like a hot mess, but it's okay.
I like it.
It's okay.
I like to warm up with random chatter.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I'm cool with chatter.
Okay.
I just like to talk. Not really, though.
Because you're an introvert.
I don't really see myself as an introvert.
You don't see yourself as an introvert?
No, because I think I'm a really awkward guy.
I feel like, well, to me, it's kind of like awkward as a result of being an introvert because you're so much into your head.
I can see that.
Yeah, because I'm the same way. I spend a lot of time thinking, so when I like approach people, I'm like too in their face.
Well, I really like making things really awkward for people.
So you do it on purpose?
I do. I think so because I think that's just me. That's my way of breaking the ice.
Give me an example.
Today at work, there was a customer who was looking at this book, and it was a photo book. It was like all these photographer photos that different photographers took.
Yeah.
And she was just sitting there reading it, and I'm from across the room. I was like, "Oh, so you like my photos, huh?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "I took those in that book."
Was it really yours?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
But so she just looked at me like I was crazy. But then after that, I was able to break the ice and kind of like talk to her a little bit more. But it was I just made things really awkward because
I don't think that's awkward. That's just like a good line. It's like it's outrageous line.
yeah, I guess
It depends on the person.
But yeah,
if she was an extrovert,
she laughed. I mean,
yeah.
So I guess it worked out, and
yeah,
we
because you kind of learned that from sales. Kind of.
Yeah, essentially.
All right, so I feel good.
All right,
I'll do it. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Catch Up with Bryan, Sumo, Sumardi, where I feed my curiosity by meeting some cool ass people.
not that cool.
Today's guest is Mr. Andy Sensei Truong.
Hey, how's it going?
Well, why do people call you Sensei?
I don't know. I think it's a racial thing.
That makes sense.
Yeah. That's pretty common. I mean, every Asian guy's a sensei, right?
I never got that. I wish I got that.
I
It's the swaggy hair.
I don't think so.
Because as soon as I told John, like, yeah, I'm gonna interview Andy. Oh, Andy Sensei.
Yeah, I don't know. It's actually him who came up with that, and I think he's one of the guys who actually still calls me that. There isn't many people that still call me that.
Okay, maybe that's probably the only reason why I brought it up.
It.
Well, Andy is a photographer, and I really like his work. I want him to shoot photos for Sumo Lifts and the brand and whatever I'm doing. And I want to see his perspective on how he does things.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. Well, tell me something. What else do you do other than photography? Because you work with Apple right now.
Well, I work, in a sense, I work indirectly with Apple.
Ooh.
I do IT, like computer repair stuff.
Okay.
But I think that funneled into it because of my photography. The reason why
I don't see the...
not many people see the connection, but when I edit, it's always on an Apple, and I've always played around with like software and troubleshooting and trying to figure out why this doesn't work the way it should.
Okay.
And then from that, I've learned a lot more about computers, and then now I work with computers to pay for my photography in a sense.
I see.
Yeah.
Because photography is a poor man's
Yeah,
business.
it's expensive.
It's like podcasting.
Yeah.
I haven't made a dime. But I've done so many, and I've had so much time doing this.
With photography, there's so many photographers out there now.
Right.
And there's so many, like anybody can just pick up a camera and go. And I've seen people say, hey, I'll take your wedding pictures for free.
Right.
It's like, man, I charge like $2,000-3,000 for weddings. And you're doing it for free.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't really work out.
So it's just fucking up the money.
Yeah, because when, you quote somebody on something, they're like, oh, you pay that much? I can just find a student and they'll do it for free.
Yeah.
You know, that sucks.
So what do you think is the best, or what's the word, route on trying to keep your business flowing type of thing? Like, you just make a portfolio and just put it out there?
Well, see, I've been really slow with my photography in terms of business-wise. I've done a couple weddings here and there, but weddings aren't really my thing. I don't really like shooting weddings.
Okay, that makes sense.
I want to work more travel, something related to travel.
What's that thing called? Wanderlust?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what that means, to be honest. I see that hashtag everywhere.
I've seen it too, but it pretty much means like traveling type thing. I really don't know.
But then whenever I see it, it's just like a scenery of a mountain, like overlook.
I don't know.
Or like ocean.
Look that up.
Yeah, I would love to.
I've heard it so many times, but I really don't know what it means.
Okay, so like what? So tell me what you want to like specifically shoot in terms of travel. Like, do you want to go like different places?
No, it's not necessarily people. So I mean, it's not necessarily places, but it's more so the people that I interact with when I travel.
Yeah.
Because one of my biggest things is I love listening to people's stories.
Yes, same here.
Where they come from, where they're going, what they've done their entire life, some things like kind of what you're doing.
Right.
So whenever I travel, my photography is really geared towards the
feeling,
not necessarily the feeling, but the life of, you know. When I remember when prime example is when I went to Peru. We went over to this island, don't remember what it's called, but there's this kid who's just standing on the island, and he's flying a kite.
Yeah.
You know, he's standing by this like wall, really great sky, you know, he's just sitting there minding his own business.
Right.
So I took his picture, and then right when I finished taking his picture, he like jumps down, because in Peru, if you take somebody's picture and you're like a tourist, they expect you to pay them. It's really weird, but it's at the same time, it's not.
Is that just Peru?
Well, I mean, it's the only place that's happened where I've taken a photo of somebody and they like expect me to pay them for.
So he jumped down and then ran up to you?
Yeah, he ran up to me, but like I stopped him and I was like, no, go back. And so I asked him to go back because I wanted to take another photo.
Right.
But instead of me paying him, I took a photo of him with a Polaroid, and I gave him the Polaroid as a gift.
Oh. So do you have what, a printer with you, or you actually have a Polaroid camera?
With an actual Polaroid camera.
Oh.
So that's kind of like my way of leaving a gift, or leaving my mark in a sense.
That's awesome.
But there's a couple of my Polaroids floating around the world somewhere.
That's super dope. Yeah. That's like, I always was interested in like graffiti tagging. Yeah. Like when I read into, damn, I'm horrible now. I forgot his name. The Banksy. Yeah. Yeah. That was like probably the first person I ever like looked into, because I just saw the spray can, his trademark graffiti, and I was like, this is cool. Yeah. What's really interesting about Banksy though is the story behind him, and like, because he just recently got caught, like as an identity. I actually didn't know that. I don't know if he got caught or not. I heard a rumor probably last summer, but I don't know, because no one ever pulled out an official name either. So I don't know if he really got caught or just that someone caught him, but didn't really put his name out there, I guess. Right. Like, I guess he got caught like tagging something. Yeah. Because I mean, like, he's done it for years. Yeah, but I don't think anybody really knows his identity. But what's funny is, because you bring up Banksy, and I was just in Amsterdam, and there's this Banksy museum, or I guess he had an exhibit there. Okay. And on the wall is I forgot what the quote was, but he doesn't do it for the fame, because nobody really cares about who does it. He doesn't want people to focus on him, right? But more so the message that he's trying to spread through his art. And every piece of his art is very controversial. Right. It has some kind of background meaning. So some like politics to like just parenting. Right. Yeah, I've seen a lot of it. I haven't really looked at it recently, but I remember like mainly in high school when I really looked into his work, I was like, shit, this is dope. His work is really interesting. I mean, his work is, he tells a story with every single piece. But what's also nuts is when
when he tags something,
Yeah.
they will cut out that part of the building just to preserve it.
Oh,
That's
what you saw at the
that's what I saw
museum?
at the museum, where they would like cut out a piece of the building just because he tagged it, and that way they can preserve his art.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really sick.
That's how shows how powerful he is.
Yeah, I mean, it's also the unknown of him as well. I guess that's what makes it.
I always like for me, I really like dancing as my terms of like self-expression.
Right.
So I used to watch America's Best Dance Crew, and the reason why you know the Jabberwockies, the reason why I thought they were so great and no one could ever top them is because of their mask. Just the secrecy of each dancer as they work in unison, they create something great. I like to always quote this saying from Peter Drucker. If you want, no, I'm sorry, this is Amelia Boone. She's like a obstacle course racer.
Okay.
If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Ah.
Yeah. So with that, I'm like, shit, that makes sense, because there's a lot of times where I thought my ego was so great that I could do everything by myself.
Right.
Like I couldn't trust anybody.
Right.
But then the more I started talking to people and working as a group and as a team, especially in the military for me and being in the Marines, I was like, shit, this is a lot more fulfilling when I can do something as a unit, being together.
Well, I mean, can you really make it alone? You know,
I learned it. You can't.
It's. I mean, I'm sure there's people who've done it alone, but it's a million times harder.
Lonely.
Yeah.
Like I don't even think so. Like I don't think anyone. Like if you think of like the Napoleons, like even just like the Hitlers, anyone who's like really good / bad,
right?
They didn't do it alone. They might have took all the credit, but there's no way they done it by themselves.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to do it alone.
Right.
That's why it's to have other influence, because you always see it one way. Somebody brings a different perspective, and it just opens up your eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like not to get super like philosophical.
Right.
But I mean, in terms of your photography, you said you like to capture no, you didn't say not the feeling, but you want to capture the life in your photos.
Right. So I mean, in a sense, I can't go out there and take a picture. I mean, there's people who travel and they take scenic photos and stuff.
Yeah.
That's great. Like I'll go out there and I'll take one scenic photo and that's about it. But a lot of my pictures, I want them to tell a story, whether it be of how somebody works or how, what somebody does on a day-to-day basis, because I think it makes a photograph more powerful.
I agree. So today you were telling me that you went to DC for the cherry blossoms.
Right.
And so tell me about the pieces that you were shooting and like what you saw out of that. Or
when I was there, I took a couple cliche shots. I mean, cherry blossom, Jefferson Memorial behind it. But there was this one photo that I took. I mean, when I saw, the reason why I don't really reach for my camera ever unless I see something that I really like.
I want to get into that real quick. Like, what do you feel, sense, look, that kind of thing when you shit, I got to pull my camera out?
Right. So today, for an example, what really made me pull my camera out was because we were walking around the basin and there was this girl just sitting there on a bench facing the water. There was like really nobody around her, nobody sitting next to her. She was just kind of by herself.
Okay.
But at that same time, she was just kind of like at peace, where you go to like the tidal basin, you really don't go alone in a sense, unless you're doing
Pokemon.
Yeah, right. But there's people like exercising, and there's a bunch of tourists everywhere, and she's just kind of sitting there minding her own business.
Right.
And she's just kind of like at peace, enjoying herself. And I took a picture from behind her, and
just like looking over the water.
But in this frame, there wasn't anybody else in there. I mean, it was just like her and blank space on the side, and it was just
peaceful.
Just peaceful.
Yeah.
But it's having her there on that bench would be better than me just taking a picture of a bench on its own, because it doesn't, that bench being the center, she's the center focus.
Right.
Like, why is she there? What is she doing? What is she thinking? That kind of thing.
Because I know I have a couple of buddies of mine who are just like getting into photography, and I just want to, I guess I want to ask for them, even though I don't know if this would be like a specific question that they would ask. But then like when you shoot, like, and you know I don't know the specific words, like the little square that you see inside, like you said, if she's not the main focus, what do you put that on? Or like, what do you focus on if you don't focus on the person?
Well, in terms of like actual like physical focus point,
right?
She would be the subject that's in focus.
Oh, okay.
But if like say, I don't know. I don't really know how to answer that.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. I didn't even know how to ask the question. Like, so when you're actually taking that shot,
right?
Like I know you want to like create a story with your photo, but then the way you take your photo is critical to getting your story made. And I'm trying to figure out how you do that.
So there's a couple of things when it comes to photography. There's something called the rule of thirds.
Okay.
So the rule of thirds is picture like a tic-tac-toe.
Okay.
Box. You got 2 lines down, 2 lines across.
Right.
Those points where they cross, that's where generally people focus to.
Okay. So that square,
so that middle square, that the corners of that middle square.
Okay.
It would be generally where people focus on.
Right.
So you want to generally, for the most part, put your subject in those particular spots.
Okay.
So the 4 points. But rules are generally meant to be broken. So depending on what you do and how you frame it, you can shift them all the way to the left or shift them all the way to the right, shoot high, shoot low kind of thing. And it's just really how you frame it.
Right. So I'm trying to figure out, like, if you put her as your center focus, what makes you want to put her center focus versus
on the side,
left focus, right focus, to like look at certain things?
For this particular shot, I took it center, like dead on, just because on both left and right, it shows emptiness because again, she was alone. In this vast space where there's generally a lot of people, she was just sitting there alone. Okay. And she was I centered the bench, but she was slightly off-centered for the bench. Okay. But at the same time, just like everything around her, I waited till there was nobody walking around, and I kind of just snapped in when there was
perfect moment. Yeah. Kind of so I'm thinking, like, for me in my head, if I was taking like a side angle shot of her, I would put her like left focus, and then you have her looking into the water. Yeah. So that would make sense too.
Yeah. I mean, I was just shooting from a different perspective. But when you shoot that way, you have everything that's behind her that's also there. Yeah. So it gets lost, cluttered in this almost. Okay. So if there's like a lot of people walking by, you just have it takes away the focus from her.
I see. Yeah. Okay. I mean, what if I rewind this back then to think about say me, like I don't know I shoot everything off iPhone. Right.
But iPhone's a great tool now.
It's very true. It's very true. So someone who would want to get a little bit more into the game, like what would be like your starter set type of thing? Like what would be like a good starter kit? Because I see like you have like 3 bags worth of camera gear, and I'm like, damn.
What, like starter kit for like a camera?
Yeah. Like I know there's like DSLRs and there's like single focus, or I don't know, like not interchangeable lenses type of thing.
Yeah. So I mean, it really depends on what route you want to go. There's cameras out there that are great for video. There's cameras out there that are great for photos. There's cameras that do both. Generally, everything actually does both now. Yeah, for the most part, everything does video and photos. I mean, start small. I mean, if you want to jump right into it, you can pay like $2,000 for a camera, or you can spend a couple $100, like $600-700. Yeah, and get a pretty decent camera. But I mean, it depends, I guess, where you want to invest and where you see yourself going in the long run. Because before I bought my camera that I'm using now, I had 2 other cameras, and they did what I needed to do at that time. But then as I got better and I figured out what I was doing, I had to buy something else, and then I had to buy something else. Right. So I went through 3 cameras now, But if I had just said, hey, fuck this, I'm going to just buy the $2,000 camera.
Right.
And kind of go from there.
So, like, the thing about it, again, it's, what was the issues within, like, those specific cameras? Like, why would you need to change to the next?
The first camera I bought didn't do video.
Oh.
So it's strictly for photos.
So this was, like, back.
This is back in, like, 2007, 2006.
Okay, so it was just time.
Yeah, I mean, it was just back then. I didn't buy a camera. It was kind of like my entry level camera. I found a camera on Craigslist. It was cheap enough that I could afford it. Jumped the gun, bought it, started shooting it. It was great, and I kind of wanted to get into video, so I left that camera alone and just bought another one.
Okay.
And then from there, I had something called a crop sensor. So a crop sensor, you know, a negative, like film negative.
Yeah, like the
it's a 35 millimeter frame.
Okay.
Right. So the crop sensors that I had was like a partial. So say this is like the 35. It's just like half of kind of thing.
I'm not following, but okay. I guess if I look into it more, I'll figure it out.
I guess it's sensor size. It's something called sensor size. Sensor size determines the image quality in the sensor. Don't quote me on that because I'm pretty sure that's not right.
I mean, that's cool. So, I mean, well, like, what does it actually do?
With a crop sensor, it doesn't harm you in any way. But like, say for example, there's different lenses, right?
Yeah.
So with these different lenses, say for example, 50 millimeter. So 50 millimeter on a crop sensor isn't really a true 50 because it zooms in a little.
And then that kind of distorts the image.
Not necessarily distorts it, but you just lose a lot of the framing in a 50. Because a 50 is a really good lens. It's kind of it's geared towards what your eye sees.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the focal length of your eye in a sense. It's the closest thing to the focal length of your eye.
Okay.
So with a 50 millimeter on a full frame, it's the actual 50. So I guess if you put it next to each other, you'll be able to see the difference because one is zoomed in a little bit more than the other. I think it's like 1.4 times zoomed, which isn't a lot, but it's...
I think I read something about that. Like when I'm like looking up iPhone or like the new phone reviews, like one has like a 1.4 and then a 2.4 or like 1.8.
Well, that's the f-stop.
F-stop, okay.
So the f-stop is
how much light it brings in.
So how much light that comes in.
What is the importance of getting light and like exposure? See how white balance.
Well, so in photography, there's.
This is getting really in depth now. I love it though. I love it.
No. In photography, there's 3 things you kind of adjust. It's kind of they all work in unisons. There's the f-stop.
Okay.
The shutter speed, and the ISO.
Okay.
So the f-stop is determined it determines how big the lens opens up. Okay. So the f-stops go from like 1.2, 1.4, 1.8, 2.8, and it keeps going up. Okay. So the bigger the number, the smaller the hole.
So it's more light or less light?
Less light.
Okay.
So like say for example an f22, your hole is going to be a lot smaller than an f1.2. Okay. But what that does is, have you ever seen a photo that, you know, like say you take a picture of me, I'm in focus, everything else behind me is out of focus. Right. So when people do that, they shoot it at a f1.2 or something, f1.8, something big.
So it brings a lot of light.
So it allows a lot of light in, but it also distorts a lot of things in the back.
So the thing, I don't even know how you do that. I thought that was all in editing, but I've seen that in photos now.
So if you take a photo at 1.4, for example, like a small portion of the face or like the entire front of the face might be in focus, but everything else behind it is out of focus.
So anything in that square you were talking about?
Yeah, I mean wherever you focus on or whatever you focus on.
Okay.
And then if you jump up and say you want to take a photo of you and you want everything else behind you in focus, you would jump up to like an f22. Okay. So f22 would then allow, it's a smaller hole, but it will focus everything. Like everything would be in focus. Everything, you and everything behind you.
Would be in focus.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because if you look through, like, say, even with your hand, if you make like a really small hole and kind of focus in on it, everything looks kind of like in focus. But when you open it out, you can it spaces it out, so you can't really focus on one particular thing.
That was actually kind of cool. Like just me going like this to this,
and then it kind of just opens up.
My eye, like it felt like what I see on the camera. Like it had to like adjust.
Yeah, exactly. So it kind of adjusts the way you look.
That's super cool.
And I kind of just made that over here because but that goes into shutter speed, and it bases off of your shutter speed, because your shutter speed is how fast the camera like opens and closes to take the photo.
Yeah.
So if you have a really big opening, you're letting more light in. So you need a faster shutter speed to counter it.
To capture the photo?
Right. So like say we're outside, I want to take a photo of a bird that's sitting on the ledge, right? But I want the focus to be on that bird, but everything else in the back just like out of focus.
Okay.
So I would take the photo at like a 1.4, and with that, because it's kind of sunny out or gray out, it'll be maybe at like an F, or for the shutter speed it'll be like 100th or 1/500th of a second.
Okay.
It's weird. It's weird. So if I were to take that same photo at a f/22, the shutter speed would have to be slower. Okay. So it would go from 1/500th of a second to say like 60th of a second.
Right, and that's just to capture the bird in focus.
Yeah. So if I wanted to shoot an f/22 to get everything else behind it in focus, then I would shoot it at a bigger f-stop.
Okay.
Or smaller f-stop in this sense.
Yeah.
Bigger number, smaller.
Yeah. So, but then if you use the smaller number, the smaller f-stop, it's more blurry in the background. Yeah, exactly. Okay. That's my key thing. Yeah. And then the last one said ISO.
ISO. So ISO, it goes back to film speed. So it's kind of like artificial light in a sense. So if you're shooting indoors, you want to be at a higher ISO because it gives it, in a sense, it's kind of like artificial light. So it's noise. Okay. So it fills out all the darks and it gives you a little bit more light and allows you to shoot at a better setting. So if you're shooting indoors,
with poor lighting?
With poor lighting, yeah. So with poor lighting or anything like that, you would need you might want to bump up like an ISO to get to what you want to shoot at.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of like assist. Kind of like
assist with the lighting.
Yeah.
So it's like a software type of thing. It's a software that
kind of sort of
supplement the photo.
Well, ISO comes from film, and it's the speed of the film, and the speed of the film is
for like a digital camera. It's just how it writes into the memory of.
Almost.
Yeah. Okay.
Almost. So it's. Yeah, I mean, the best way to describe it kind of just gives you artificial light in a sense.
Okay, because like it's the same thing when you think of files, like a I forgot all my stuff now. It's like a JPEG is worse quality than
like a RAW.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it all comes down. With JPEG is just a compressed file, whereas RAW is pretty much what went through the camera and onto the card and is uncompressed. So it has more information on that uncompressed file where you can go in afterwards and take more or shift things around.
Yeah, so like saying I'm not saying like it's a worse quality, but then it's just harder to adjust.
I mean, I feel like I should be able to explain ISO pretty easily, but I can't.
I mean, it's cool. It's cool. I'll have you back another day. It's like coming back to episode whatever.
Find out what ISO really means.
ISO now means this. Yeah. Okay. So that's all the technical details. Getting back to you, what's your next move in terms of getting more life in your photography or business? Like, what's your next venture?
I don't know. And that's like really, that's something that I've been struggling with.
Trying to figure it out.
Yeah, because I picked up photography as a hobby.
Right.
I never really thought that I would go and run with it and try to make money off of it, because it was just always something I like to do. Mm-hmm. So this year, I'm pushing it a little bit more, and I'm trying to break out of that comfort zone that I've been sitting in for so many years.
Yeah.
And really push my photography out. But this year, my goal for this year is to kind of, one, I want to start selling prints. The photos that I've taken, make it available for people to purchase and frame whatever, and do whatever they want with it.
How are you going to do that? In what way? Like create a like Shopify?
Yeah, kind of like a Shopify kind of thing. Just like, oh, here's my photos. Pick what you want, pick what size you want, and kind of go from there, and so forth and so forth. Okay,
so and then when you say you want to bring out life, are you going to be like traveling more, or are you trying to work with certain people?
I want,
like, who are you trying to work with as well?
I haven't really thought about it per se, because I'm more comfortable shooting just anything that happens in the street. I see myself more of a street photographer and a like journalist, a photojournalist than anything else. Okay. Because so I can take a photo. As well? No, I don't really write. Okay. Writing's really bad.
So then you just take photos and you want to work with someone to
explain the story? It's not really, or you just I just kind of want the photo to kind of explain itself. You know, I don't want to have to very, very limited wording with it, or I don't know. I can't really.
Okay. Oh, I would just to put this in perspective. Like for me, one thing that I've learned in terms of my like business and trying to put myself out there with my brand and whatnot, I've learned I need to be on as many platforms as possible, and then to be able, like, if you look at one of my photos, like on my Instagram, like whether I'm doing something like a b-boy pose or something like that, like as someone else who's a b-boy, like, oh shit, he's doing a freeze. Right. They know the wording and the terminologies, but if someone else who's not into b-boying, like, oh look, he's just doing something crazy, he's balancing on one arm, and then someone who's like completely not in the zone is like, what is he doing? Why is he doing that on a bridge? So like, I've learned you have to be able to explain yourself through all mediums. Although you want to create that story through your photography, it's just like creating a caption. Like I went to Miami recently, and I went to one of their art galleries. Some beautiful stuff that I saw, and it was all just like travel shots. Like I felt a certain way after looking into like a sunset or some type of cliff, and with that, it gave me that life feeling, but I didn't know how to illustrate it through words. And then there's always a caption underneath it, and then it would relate to somebody's quote, and then a description of where the place was, what time it was, and then what they saw. And then that like really got into my head, like, okay, it kind of just like clarified the entire thing to me. Like, although I see it a certain way, I want to hear, read from the perspective of the photographer.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. A lot of my work, it's really geared towards people. So I always like to have a person in the shot. I'm really vague with description of what they're doing, who they're, whatever. But one of the more recent shots that I took was when I was in Paris, when I was kind of I was walking down the street, just minding my own business, and there was a guy sitting in the window sewing something. Okay. So I walked by, I saw it, I was like, man, this is a great shot. So I kind of waved at him through the glass, and I was like, hey, can I take your picture? Okay. And he was like, yeah, he gave me a thumbs up. So I sat there for a few minutes and framed it, thought about exactly what I wanted to portray, so forth and so forth. And then afterwards, when I was finished and getting ready to go, I wanted to talk to him because I wanted to see what he was actually doing. Yes. And I ended up chatting with him for a few minutes. He let me into his little boutique. and he was explaining to me that this is a store that we're opening for denim, and it's a lot of denim related things. So special stitching and kind of really geared just towards denim.
Okay.
So bags, clothing,
bags,
stuff like that.
Okay.
They were just opening up, so they're actually not officially open yet. But I was able to kind of meet the owner and the guy who opened the store and one of the employees, and I've kind of just been like talking to them back and forth, and because that way, like now I've made this new connection.
Yeah.
Now these guys kind of know of me in a sense.
Okay.
And
so networking.
Yeah, it's the same way of networking. But at the same time, that photo that I took, it's kind of just like, what is his story? It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
But in the caption, I haven't done anything with the photo yet. But in the caption, I haven't really thought about what to write. Mm-hmm. Kind of just let it, let the mind wander.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, like it's all in perspective too. Like I've seen a couple people who've done that.
Yeah.
But then I don't know. For someone like me, I like to let my mind wander, but only for a certain amount of time. Because eventually, I want to know like
what the actual what is it that you want me to see.
Yeah, and then I think at the same time, that's what I've recently learned. Like the reason why I get like people on my podcast too is I literally look at work through like local work in the area. I use the when you go on the search thing, and then wherever you are, like what city you are, you can see what the highlights in that place. I click on it, and then I just look at stuff, what people are doing in the area that I'm around. And if I like it, I go to their page, and if they're like really into like a certain hobby, like photography, I'm like, oh, I like that. And then even they have a caption, I'd read it, and I would message them. It's like, hey, I really like your work. Can we talk about it? And then I would either message them through DM or I'd meet them in person. And
I mean, that's funny because that's kind of why I'm sitting here.
Yeah.
Because you saw.
I thought you were like skeptical too. Like,
well, I didn't. I mean, how long have we? We've known each other for some time now.
Yeah.
But it was. I mean,
we were never like super close either.
Right. So but I mean, we were always there, and yeah. But it's funny because I guess that one little caption that I wrote, I love when watching people create.
Yes.
Yeah. That was.
Yes.
And I guess I mean, at the same time, that photo that I took that you saw was just a girl just sketching, and that I was just watching her sketch. I mean, it was as weird as it sounds, but when it's funny because we were talking about this earlier about how being like introverted and things like that.
Yeah.
When I saw her sitting there, I was like, man, this is a really good picture. But it's also, one, being a photographer, it's really creepy to just sit there and take somebody's photo without like talking to them first.
Yeah.
All right. So I sat there and I was like, man, I really want to take this girl's picture, but how do I go about it?
Right.
So I have to, one, approach them, be like, hey, excuse me, like, do you mind if I take your picture? But see, by doing that, it takes away from the candid and the unexpectedness.
Right, because then they're like,
so it's like I'm kind of I'm trying to pose. But what was really good about her was when she was like, yeah, it's fine, you can take it. And
but she was already focused on her.
But she was, exactly. So that's what I love. She didn't pay any attention to me. I took this one photo in front of her. I went to the side of her, took a picture of her drawing or sketching. And then I went to the other side of her and took another photo. Mm-hmm. So when I finished, I talked to her a little bit more. It's usually when I like to engage with my subject.
Okay.
It's like, hey, where are you from? What do you do? What are you doing here? So forth and so forth. So her story was she's from Seattle. She was visiting New York for a school trip.
Okay.
And she just came down to DC because she really wanted to see DC.
Okay.
So she was like interior design, so forth and so forth. But she was just sitting there sketching the Capitol building. But it's just something about her sitting there drew me to her. And then now I kind of got to hear her story, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, I like that. So the one thing I want to kind of just like get into, because it's like, it's a itch that I just can't scratch yet at the moment.
Okay.
And it's the fact that some people don't understand authenticity.
Okay.
Like, to put in perspective, if I were just trying to get my name out there and I would see that you have a lot of followers, you have a lot of good work, I would be like, hey, can I interview you just to talk to you and have you on my platform so I can grow. And that kind of like rubs me the wrong way. And I think I had that conversation on one of my previous podcasts about dating, online dating. Like I feel like I know myself well enough and the interests that I'm interested in, that if someone tries to play off like they're interested in the things that I'm interested, but not really, and
just to kind of gain a benefit,
right? Just to get a benefit to like either date me or hang out with me some more or whatever they want, whatever the prerogative, I can tell,
right?
Because I'm already in depth with my criteria or my interests. Like I know what I want, and I feel like most people don't know that, or most people don't know
what they want.
Right, what they want. Because like if that girl was to instead after you asked her to have her photo taken, she would start posing. Like she would just like raise her body structure or like try to cleavage stuff and then try to make the photo something that's not candid, then you could tell like there's some, I'm not going to say issues, but there's usually something on top of it. Like she wants to gain out of it.
Right.
Like, oh, hey, can you like tag me?
Well, the funny thing is with this particular photo, with this particular person, was she has never had her photo. She told we talked after a little bit.
I think that's awesome. I didn't know people do that.
Well, we spoke after I sent her the photos, and she's like, man, this photo means so much to me because I've never had a picture taken of me drawing or sketching.
So she's never seen herself in action.
Well, yeah, it's not necessarily her in action, but it's never been taken. In a sense. So I felt honored because I was like, I'm the first person to ever take your photo while you're drawing, and you like this photo. And she just, for me, when she told me it meant so much to her that she had her photo taken, I was like, well, that just makes me a little bit happier.
Right. It feels like just fulfilling. Like
exactly. It's not like I'm not in it to make the money. Like I don't care about making the money. I don't care about making millions and millions of dollars. I made this I gave this person something that they can hold on to. Right. And for it, I guess, to mean that much to her just means so much more to me.
So I want to say how you relate to this. Like you like to take photos so people can unleash their story. Because you were talking about how people have stories, right? And I feel like I'm the same way because I want to highlight local artists / creatives around me, but just by telling their stories on platforms like iTunes, YouTube, because the reason why I always think I myself is an introvert, because I feel like for someone who doesn't have a big following or who is like not like what you think is like crazy, but everyone still has a story. And most people I always felt like are suppressed because everyone's always just relating to the next big thing. When Mark Zuckerberg created Facebook at like 21 or whatever, 20, what he was his age, like that's amazing. Right. But he did it at such a young age for like all of us who are like 25 and up.
It's like, what
am I doing? Yeah. I'm late to the game.
Facebook,
Right.
Well, the one of the biggest things about social media that I've found really interesting is that people really care about following. Right. Because...
But why?
I don't know why. Yeah. I guess it makes... I don't want to come off in any kind of way, but it makes it feels like they've been noticed. Right? But at the same time, I've seen photographers in Instagram profiles where you can have 100,000 followers, and this other person has 500 followers. Right. Sometimes that 500 follower person, that profile with 500 followers, is more interesting than that person with 100,000.
Yeah, I agree.
The work is better than the person with 500,000 or 100,000 followers. But it sucks because I guess in the same sense that they don't get that recognition that this person does. Yes. Yes. When it comes to art, I find it really funny because I've always asked myself, do the people actually like my work, or they only support it because I'm a friend?
Yes, yes, I completely agree.
That's always one thing that I've always wondered. Is like, okay, if you don't know me, would you still go out of your way to like a photo, or would you still go out of your way to reach out to me and talk to me more about my photo?
Right.
You know, I've always thought about that from different artists in the area. There's great artists with great
Work,
but don't get the recognition that they deserve. But at the same time, this person, you know, again, who am I to really judge, who does work, but it isn't as good as, at least in my opinion, but they have galleries and they have art shows that they're a part of. But is it because your work is good, or is it because you know a lot of people?
Yes, yes.
And the people funnel into you and boost your ego to the point where you're like this hot artist, but at the same time you're not. I guess at least it's all opinionated, I guess.
Right.
I mean, I don't ever really want to talk down about an artist, and because everybody creates in their own specific way, but I don't know, I guess that's really wrong to say.
Yeah, because I always had this in business that I've always learned is that you can do whatever you want as long as you accept the repercussions. Mm-hmm. But as another business owner, you should, like, as a moral, you shouldn't knock someone's hustle.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But it's when it comes to art, though, I feel like it's a lot of it is a popularity contest.
Yes.
Because the person who's taking a picture of half-naked women is going to get more recognition than a person that's taking pictures of landscape.
Right, and that's just because of
just because of subject matter.
Right. Okay.
Sex sells.
Yeah. I feel like slowly it's becoming less selly. I don't know what the word is. Like it's become a lot more. It's normal. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Like
because you've seen it.
There's so many people doing it. Like, oh, okay, like bondage type of thing,
right.
or just another nipple.
Right.
I mean, it looks nice as a man, but it's like, okay.
But it's the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah. I want to get into, what was that thing? I had it in my head before I started talking. Now I forgot. It's the I keep wanting to say business. I don't think it's business. Shit. I just went complete brain fart.
It's okay.
It's okay. We're gonna relax. Let's slowly get back to me.
Take your time.
All right. That clock doesn't work. It hasn't moved in like months.
What is it? 9:15?
I
don't know which one's the short one and which one's the long one.
Yeah, they might have.
Maybe 3:45.
Is it going to the right? Oh yeah, probably 3:45.
Straight across.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the shadow. So the shadow.
Yes. Okay.
On the right is.
That's smart. That's 3:45. Is that no? That's not 3:45 here though. I'm so mad. I definitely had a question before I started answering your question.
Question about what?
It is about. We were talking about followers. Then. Oh, okay. So this is what I was getting into. It was more into the aspect of like loving your work. So whenever I'm at one of my jobs, when I used to work at a personal training place, I had one trainer who always wanted to be number one in the company,
right? In
terms of the entire U.S. Mm-hmm. He achieved that a couple times, but he got like a plaque award, but then he was always put down every time that throughout the month they'd be like, hey, you didn't fill out so-and-so paperwork. But I think that's more ego at that point, because he's like, I just sold the most training in the entire company. Mm-hmm. But I got like, yeah, sure, he got a plaque, but he wanted more recognition. So in my head, I've always thought like, you did what you were supposed to do. You're supposed to sell. You did your job. Mm-hmm. So why do you get rewarded off of that? that's what I want to get into. So like, I understand the point of feeling, of receiving attention. Like I know that feeling. I like it myself personally, but there's always a part of me that always thinks that I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do in order to like get my name out or try to sell, or I don't know. Like I was doing the things that I normally do, type of thing.
I think with art, it's a little different, but at the same time, similar.
Yeah, like art and business has a very fine line.
Yeah, because with today, everybody's kind of ideal thing is to get like famous on the internet.
Yes.
Everybody wants to get noticed on the internet.
Yes.
But at the same time, I guess everybody wants that in a sense. I kind of want that as well, but I wanted to land me a job instead of having
the fame.
Yeah, the fame.
You just want.
I would be so much happier if like say. Like Nat Geo reached out and say, "Hey, we really like your photos," or like some magazine, like, "Hey, we really like your photos. We want you to shoot for our magazine."
That'd be cool.
That would be like, all right, cool.
Super dope. Yeah.
I would trade everything like social media wise if I can land a job like that.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't. Social media is great, but at the same time, everybody's on social media for kind of the same reason. Everybody's trying to get some kind of gain out of it. Whether it's gain of followers and so forth and so forth. But what's really good about social media is that the number of followers, I guess, you have, at that same time, you can potentially get a job from it.
Right, right.
You know, I guess, you know, people who are, I don't know, just like companies.
Yeah.
I've seen Instagram people review products or promote products, and they get paid X amount of dollars for just that one post. Because like say, it's kind of like what Kevin Hart said when Kevin Hart, I forget what movie it was, but they wanted him to promote the movie on his Twitter. Okay. But Kevin Hart's Twitter is X amount of million followers. Right. So his whole thing was that if you want me to put it on my Twitter, you need to pay me. Right. Because if I put it on my Twitter, this many people are going to see it.
He has a lot of power through that following.
So it's the same concept with like companies and stuff. They'll pay somebody X amount of dollars to promote their thing because it'll be seen. Mm-hmm. Right.
So speak about power. I want to see your perspective on this thing too. It's so like you said, everyone kind of wants a following to make money specifically.
Because I wouldn't say it's money. It's not always money geared because
or famous.
Somebody, they might do
either attention or money. Right. That's usually the one or two. But I think one thing that I realized in terms of making certain things, just like getting attention, or me being in the military and picking up rank of NCO, like a non-commissioned officer, and having Marines underneath me, I have to take in charge of, is that you don't realize that until it happens. The amount of power you have, the amount of influence is overwhelming sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't think people understand that. I don't know if you've ever had a moment where it's like, shit, what the things that come out of my mouth hold a lot of value. Yeah. And I want to see what kind of words would you say to someone like, because I think nowadays like the Logan Pauls and all the young YouTubers that are coming up but doing like stupid shit, like doing pranks and stuff. Like you heard about this one guy in like France, I believe, or London, who's like throwing water at people, but saying there's like an acid thing going on. Did you hear about that?
I haven't heard about that.
Yeah, so there's a couple people throwing like literally just throwing acid at people and like messing people's face up. Right. But this guy like comes
he's going around throwing
water as a prank. So people are like, as soon as they feel it in their face, like, oh shit, what's going on? But then he did it as a prank, and then YouTube finally found out, and like, you're outrageous. So they pulled that one video out. Then he made a rebuttal video saying like, what are you guys talking about? I've been doing pranks for years. I've been doing pranks worse than this. So then YouTube's rebuttal to that was, oh, I see now. Get the fuck out of here. His entire channel was wiped out.
Right. I don't know, with YouTubers specifically, because there's so many kids that watch it.
Yeah.
And I don't think my generation or people in my age group really watch YouTube videos or subscribe to YouTube channels as much as kids do.
Okay.
So
because you don't have to pay for
well, it's not even that. Like, well, for like me personally,
channels.
I don't go and subscribe to a channel because one, I'm not on YouTube enough.
Okay.
So, and I don't have the attention span to sit through like a 10-minute video about some guy pranking somebody. But their power and their reach is greater because it's children who watch it.
Right. And they have a longer time frame.
Right. And so, I mean,
growing.
A lot of things that you do, then they think it's okay to do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go out there and throw water on people and pretend it's acid. And then now you have a bunch of fuckheads just going around throwing water on people.
Yeah.
So the biggest thing, I mean, I think people with that power should use it better.
Right.
One of the, I mean, I don't know if you heard about this, was the Logan Paul thing and the suicide force.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So I think, I mean, he sat there and made fun, or he kind of cracked jokes about somebody dying, and got so much backlash because of that.
Yeah.
And then turned around, did a kind of like, oh, I'm sorry video kind of
right. But then, you know what he did after that?
kind of went back and did almost the exact same thing.
He tasered a dead rat.
I mean, like, you can sit there because, I mean, when somebody like Logan Paul does it and you take away his source of income,
Yeah.
he's gonna apologize because it's you're messing with his money at this point.
Right.
So he's gonna apologize, but at the same time, does he really mean it? And if he really did mean it, why the fuck did he go back and do it again?
Right.
Or why did he do something to this dead rat?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, like, to think about that again is like what could you say to someone who's... Yeah, I did. I'm here.
You're still here?
Yeah.
hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, this is Andy.
Hi, Mandy.
That's Brittany.
I've met you before.
I know. I've seen you before. I
Yeah.
just don't remember one.
Sorry.
We're shooting a
Yeah, here it's Kirk and Bryan.
Oh, that's okay.
Brian left everything on.
Bryan left everything on? My bad.
This is how I'm resourceful I am. That I don't do this in my own facility.
Yeah.
Maybe I can get another perspective out of this.
True.
Do you guys want to involve yourselves? No?
No.
Thanks.
Okay, fine. All right, to go back to what I was saying was like the thing about if you have power or influence at a young age, the thing like a Justin Bieber or like a Britney Spears who had so much fame at a young age that they kind of went crazy afterwards. What could you say to someone growing up with that power? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I guess I can't. I mean, I can't really say anything because I don't have that power.
Oh, I don't know. Guys, I feel like for me being like trying to fix the future, I'd have to like say at least something. Maybe like just beat your kids more.
I mean, I'm all for beating your kids. I'm gonna beat my kids, but I hope I don't have to. You know, like I wish I can like sit there and.
I feel like it's necessary though, because like
is it like if you raise a child right, you don't. It doesn't necessarily have to resort.
But in what way? Because I feel like the people who are like so depressed nowadays are the people who were just talked to or like put on timeout, but still had like video games, the internet, everything in their room.
I mean, you take that shit away, right? Like,
Just leave them isolated in a room, solitary confinement.
yeah, and then you really fuck them up more, and then they'll do some really outrageous shit.
Then they'll just commit suicide.
Yeah.
Tell some type of police that you're a bad parent.
And then you go to jail.
Oh, I was trying to raise my kids right. I done fucked up. I think we're gonna end it on that note. Do you want to plug yourself?
Plug myself?
Yeah, like tell anyone to find you and your living photography, to find you at Andy Truong or
Oh.
Quest Photography?
It's just at Quest Photography, QUESTOGRA.
On the Instagram?
On the Instagram. Only on the Instagram. I have a Twitter, but I don't use it. But Instagram is my platform.
We're going to talk about business.
Business.
I'll work on that. I always forget.
Oh.
I think about subscribing and stuff in the beginning, but I never say it until the end. Did you want to say anything else?
No, I don't have anything else to say.
If you want to help out the podcast, you can shop some merch at sumoliftsapparel.com.